Oh, perfect. Continue. I'll kick things off with a quick introduction on myself, and then just a quick little pitch on Valor. One of the key differentiators between Valor here at Liberty is it's a combination of both veterans, but allies, and allies is definitely that key differentiator. When I look back at my time transitioning, probably some of the most helpful people that have got me to the next place in my career are the allies. So definitely want to call that out. People like Chrissy that co-chairs the Boston chapter. So thank you, Chrissy, and she'll be sharing and taking us through the presentation today. But just to set some context, I did serve in the Marine Corps for 4 years, grew up on the South Shore of Massachusetts, went to UMass Amherst for my undergrad, background as an artillery officer in the United States Marine Corps, then transitioned out in August 2012 and came in and started hitting the ground back at school at Northeastern. And that's how I got introduced to Andy and the student veterans group at Northeastern. So very impressed with what Andy has built there. I think it's second to none what Northeastern has. But yeah, part of today's session is to just introduce Liberty Mutual Valor Boston organization, introduce ourselves so you have some context, and if this friends or yourself or other colleagues that you work with that are looking for pathways into the company, whether it's undergrad, internships, post MBA opportunities, or just opportunities that you're looking to transition into full-time employment for experienced individuals, we're here to connect with you. We're here to network, consult, catch you up 24/7. But yeah, wanted to throw that out there, and we'll take you through today's agenda. With that said, Chrissy, you want to do a quick intro, and Jack, Chip, same thing?
Of course. Just for starters, can everyone see my screen okay? Okay. So to introduce myself, my name is Chrissy. Mike and I, as he said, we co-chair the Boston chapter of our Valor organization at Liberty Mutual. I am not a veteran. I am an ally, and my significant other is a former Army paratrooper, and both my grandfathers served in the Army. So that's why I really was passionate about joining Valor and trying to help as many veterans as I can find their network and their pathway into the corporate world. Before joining Liberty about 4 or 5 years ago, I got my undergrad at Northeastern. I did the co-op program and placed a full-time position in our corporate legal department. So I actually don't touch insurance either. So I actually sit within corporate legal in our global compliance and ethics department, and I am in charge of the sanctions operations. So we do all of our screening against our economic and trade sanctions for the US and all 29 countries that we operate in. I'll pass it over to Chip or Jack to share their intro.
I'm Chip O'Connor. I'll go first. And so I've been with Liberty Mutual for about 7 years now, and I've worked for a few other companies similar to Liberty. I was in the Marine Corps Reserves back in the 80s, post-Vietnam and pre-First Gulf War era, so unprecedented peacetime. So very fortunate in that respect. I worked for some very good companies that supported veterans as well, not in the same way that they're supported and really needed today. And I've been primarily in IT. I went to Northeastern. Actually, I went there at night and went through their, what at the time was their management information certificate program. And that actually was a transition for me from kind of doing accounting basically into the wonderful world of IT. And I've been doing that for a long time now. And I won't mention the number of years. So looking forward to hearing and sharing today.
Sorry, figuring out the unmute here. I'm sure it's a problem that plagues us all at one point or another. So I am not from the Boston area, and I'm not an alumni like the rest of everyone here. I think my only tie-in, aside from the veteran tie, is a couple times a year I shoot out to the Garden on Liberty's box tickets and watch, a hockey game or a basketball game there. So it is definitely one of the perks of getting into a company like this. I served back from 2005 and 2011 in the Army and did 3 tours overseas to Iraq. And after I went to a small Jesuit school in Syracuse, New York, where Liberty picked me up right out of graduation there. So I spoke with a lot of veteran organizations in that school, and I found it incredibly powerful in helping me guide my career, move forward, and then moving into Liberty as well. The ERG has been an excellent resource, as well as Liberty as a whole. Just the diversity inclusion effort that they put forward is phenomenal and incredibly strong in helping lift everyone up.
Jack, next time you're in town and you get an extra ticket, you can throw Mike Chikese on that list.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do. Unfortunately, most of the people we bring in are heavy premium donors to the company.
All right. I understand.
So now we just wanted to kind of go over Liberty, more specifically the corporate culture and the veteran culture at Liberty, because, when you're looking for a civilian job in the corporate world, it's often, you want to make sure that you're a right fit for that company, but that the company is the right fit for you as well. So I have a few slides that are from our talent team, and these can all be shared after if anyone is interested. And Mike, Chip, and Jack, if there's anything you want to add about any of these slides or your experience with them, please feel free to chime in, interrupt me. So the first slide here is kind of just going over the company as a whole. We're the 6th largest P&C carrier and the 3rd in the US. We, like I was saying earlier, we have operations in 29 countries. So we really have a global footprint, and we are 77th on the Fortune 100 list. So here you have a few quotes from employees that are at Liberty, and just talking about how innovative and collaborative and inclusive the environment is. And you probably see these on a lot of the corporate websites that you're looking at, their hiring pages. But I think all of us, Mike, Chip, and Jack, and I can all attest to the words on the screen here, especially the work-life balance. With COVID, that was really tried and true. So before COVID, we had the flexibility to work from home 1 or 2 days a week. You had the flexibility to wear jeans to the office. So when I first started, it was, business formal. It switched to business casual, and then we tried out the jeans sort of thing, and that stuck. Now it's sweatpants. So yeah, Liberty really is trying to compete with some of those newer companies like the Googles and the Apples of the world, trying to make an environment that you don't just show up at work, do your job, and go home. You feel like you can bring your full self to work.
I would definitely agree. The other thing, Chrissy, too, I mean, I've only been at Liberty for a little over a year now, but the thing that jumps out at me is, we have ERG groups, and not only do we have them, but we actually actively participate. It's on people's scorecards. It's a very active area, whereas some companies that I've been in the past, it's almost used as a marketing tool, and there's really no substance behind it. I feel like every ERG, whether it's Amigos, whether it's Valor, whether it's for the different communities across Liberty Mutual, I feel like each one of them are very active across Liberty, always have events and speakers, stuff like this happening. So something that's always resonated with me since I've been here.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead to this slide, so I'll show this
boy.
as you're talking. No, that's fine. Jack, did you have something you wanted to share?
Oh, I was just going to say on that last slide, it shows some pretty impressive numbers, but Liberty is such a diverse company, not in who we hire and where we go with that, but also within job structure and what you can do. As you found out, all four of us, none of us do insurance. And we see that, we're the third largest P&C insurer in the US. Well, I work in a division called Surety. It's a small but the most profitable division in Liberty, where we have 70% gross profit and 60 to 50% net profit at the end of the day here, and we do $1 billion in revenue, so not quite that 43.2 billion you see on the right side there, but we are now the largest surety globally, worldwide, and we just took Travelers over. We fight them back and forth in the US. It depends on if they do some funky numbers with their reserves or not. But there is just tremendous growth and tremendous opportunity within this company.
And just to expand on that too, there was this running joke, if not commentary, from our CIO, who used to say we're an IT company who sells insurance. I think our CEO finally got sick of hearing that and got him from saying that any longer. But it is a great point that there's a significant investment in IT and a lot of modernization going on as well. So as someone sort of representing the IT organization, lots of opportunity there as well.
Yeah, good point. One call out too. So back to the call out about insurance. So I'm part of Liberty Mutual Investments, and think of this as Liberty Mutual's asset management company. So Liberty Mutual behind the scenes manages approximately $85 billion. It's roughly cut between a general account and a pension account. And essentially that's like the hedge fund that puts capital to work to, in times of bad, where making sure our investments are aligned so we can still make a profit, and times are good, whereas we're aligning our strategy to still make a profit. So it's a double-edged sword, but wanted to call Liberty Mutual Investments out, and we'll get into a little bit more detail when I give introductions on that.
Can I just jump in with one quick question, a point of clarity? For anybody that isn't familiar, can you explain what P&C refers to?
Jack, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So P&C is property and casualty insurance. You're looking at car insurance, home insurance. You get into commercial lines where we also, support businesses. Something that I think we used to do and have exited fully or exiting are things like workers' comp and all that. So it's just these broad categories, broad buckets of insurance. And I think Chrissy's next slide is going to break that down just a little bit more. And, we've kind of getting on that Apple and Google trend here. We changed the terms a little bit, where you see personal insurance lines. We call that our global risk management, GRM. Commercial lines are GRS, global risk solutions. And I think, Mike, your division is still Liberty Mutual Investments, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't get a cool name, but.
Yeah, so this kind of shows something that, when I first got involved with Liberty Mutual, for background, my major at Northeastern was criminal justice and law and public policy. So when I was, deep in learning about serial killers and, the Supreme Court, I don't think I was thinking insurance was going to be on my docket for my career. But Northeastern does have that co-op program. And before coming to Liberty, I was able to see what it was like in the public sector working for the Attorney General's office in Massachusetts. But Liberty showed me a little bit insight into the other avenues that you could take within an insurance company. So because we are such a large and global company, you need different areas that support the corporation and support those business units, but don't necessarily do insurance. So, the IT world is a good example. They're not necessarily writing insurance products, but it's something that a big corporation needs, and the same with legal. So that is something that you don't necessarily think about when you think about Liberty Mutual, but it has a whole variety of areas of opportunity depending on what your interest is in. And if anyone has a specific area that they already know that they want to pursue, you can definitely reach out to any of the four of us, and we can put you in the right direction of someone from our talent and acquisition team that can tell you exactly what jobs are open in those areas.
Yeah,
But
as you were talking, I was thinking some of the, there's horizontal organizations as well that support all of this, right? So if you think about Liberty being a business, there's what we refer to as corporate functions. So things like accounting and finance and HR and all those other things. So in addition to the actual, business lines here, we also have that whole spectrum of supporting functions within the organization as well.
So our big areas of the business is personal insurance lines. That gives you your basic home insurance, auto, things like that. We also provide commercial insurance lines to anywhere from like a mom and pop shop to a really global company. I don't know, we insure some of the large companies that you can think of driving the roads today. And then, siloed next to us is our own Liberty Mutual Investments. And I'm not going to speak to that because I don't go in that arena, and I'll let Mike do that.
Sure, thanks, Chrissy. Yeah, so Liberty Mutual Investments, at the macro level, it's a blend of both traditional, non-traditional investments. So, think of public equity, think of the private equity market, real estate, natural resources, metals and mining, investing in oil and gas, powers and renewable, timber and ag. So it's quite a diverse investment space. Previous to Liberty Mutual, I worked at a private equity company, and they were sort of just plain vanilla private equity, investing in venture capital, investing in infrastructure. But the unique perspective of Liberty Mutual is, again, their investment is pretty broad for such a small group. 200 people is approximately our staff, our head count. And again, yeah, we span public equity, private equity market. So if folks have any interest in understanding a little bit more background or have an interest in pursuing careers in public private equity and joining the investment team, happy to connect and talk further.
I just want to open up to anyone, if anyone has any questions about the business and the business units before I move on to kind of our culture at Liberty. So if anyone, please chime in. If not, then we will continue to the teaser that Mike gave about our employee resource groups. That's our ERGs. So everyone from Liberty on this call, we represent the Valor ERG that you see here at the bottom ribbon. So these employee resource groups are voluntary basis, but they're really great communities to not only join together with people that have similar passions, similar backgrounds, but also a great way to form your network. So Valor is our ERG focused on supporting our military and veterans. We have various other ERGs, one that is new and not seen here, but We is an ERG that is about supporting women and women empowerment. We also have LIDA, which is for, I'm really bad at the acronyms, but I think it's empowering African descent Americans, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So that is another ERG that we offer. LEAP is our empowering, it's our Asian American and Pacific Islanders. Pride is our LGBTQ community, and Amigos is our Latinx community. So there's plenty of areas that you can become a part of, and you don't need to be specifically part of that community. So I'm not a veteran, but I represent the ally community. And there's plenty of men on the We at Liberty that obviously they're not women, but they're allies, and those are just as important. But I found that employee resource groups about 2 years ago as something to further my development, and also find ways to connect with people outside of the global compliance and ethics team. So anyone want to speak to their experience in one of the employee resource groups? And you can also be a part of more than one.
Yeah, good point. The one I don't see on here, and it's
Yes.
relatively new, right? Able?
Able, yeah, that's the one that it came out this year. So that Able is a new ERG that we just created, and it's being built out, and it's for people that have some sort of disability or physical ailment or disability like that. So it's really great, and something that we see especially on the Valor side, and I assume the Able, it also has people that their family members, their children, their parents are in those communities, and they want to learn how to better support one another. So within Valor, we have subgroups that I'm part of, which is like the spouse and partner group. So it's about, supporting each other while your husband, wife, partner is deployed, and really you come across, we have chapters in about 10 other states, I believe, maybe a little bit more. So you're talking to people from Plano, Texas, Seattle, New Hampshire, so.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, when I joined in January, recently
Of last year.
Yeah, of last year. Recently got married, came back from my honeymoon, started a couple weeks later, and hit the ground running with my day-to-day job. But I even had people reach out to me that were previous Liberty employees and said, get connected with an organization called Valor. And then, so I talked to my manager and the leadership team, and they were all for it. But in summary, I feel like it's like just such a breath of fresh air of, a new group to connect and network with and learn from others. Just a lot of good positivity, a lot of good energy, to take a quick side break from your day to day and take a time out and connect with folks on a separate mission. Obviously we're highly focused on Valor, but at the end of the day, we're connecting all together to put on events and network and make sure we're rallying across all these different organizations that promote inclusion across the board. But since I joined, I think it took me 2 or 3 months before I started breaking into the Valor network. But it is such a small world. I mean, the Valor leadership team, some of the folks there we have crossed paths with and friends that knew each other in service. So really cool part to just connect with additional people and not feel like you're siloed to just your specific business unit. And then, connect with just more senior mentors across the organization to learn about the different business units. So I've always felt like it's a breath of fresh air and an influx of extra energy to sync up with the Valor team. That's my ERG pitch.
And I'm a member of We Are an Ally, really, and that's been pretty eye-awakening for me as someone, kind of has been around for a while, and really kind of seeing the changes. Valor, I'm actually relatively new to, and trying to figure out how to, best participate and help. And I think the case with all these things is it's really kind of a little bit of both things, right? When you look at help in general and support in general, it's, when I need help with a particular thing, I have some stuff that qualifies for Able in my family, and being able to reach out to someone who might have had an experience similar to what I might be going through at any given point. And really more, I think, importantly, is being able to be available for somebody, if they're going through something that maybe I have experience with, and, having that support program in place. And then, particularly with Valor, really kind of outreach to veterans as well, I think is just really important. I've found that when I'm able to help other people, it makes me feel better and makes my problems go away. And, I think the spirit of what the ERGs is certainly meets that. And it's, looking forward to continue being more involved.
So I echo everybody's sentiments here. There's a lot of data and science behind inclusivity, bringing other people up, and how when you bring each other up, really everybody succeeds. There's plenty of room at the top. It doesn't have to be lonely up there. And I guess I'm an overachiever. I joined as an ally to each one of these ERGs, and for a couple of reasons. It gives me the perspective and the points of view that I would not be able to get otherwise. And seeing what events are they putting on, what's important to this community, how are we addressing it, and what are we going to do? But there's also a ton of great resources as an ally that you benefit from being a participant in. Recently, I sat on a WE event where they're talking about building your brand. And it was really geared towards the struggles that women face in the workplace, the old, go in and do your job and just be good at it. That's the only way you can get promoted. Don't speak up, but that's not the way it is. And that's not the way it's going to work. So they're trying to break that out, right? So it gave me good perspective, but I also had no idea what my brand was or how to build it. And so it really gave me a foothold in getting forward that way. So it's an amazing part of our culture, and it's something I don't think that other organizations do enough of.
I'm trying to pipe down my dog that started barking. Sorry. The wonders of working from home. The ERGs, I think, is something definitely really special that Liberty not only has, but we actually utilize. And it's something that's highly encouraged by your managers and the leadership at Liberty as well. So, part of my participation in Valor is actually one of my objectives on my career development. And it's something that you can use your time during your workday to spend on something that you feel is really fulfilling. Maybe you don't get that in your day-to-day task. If it's something that you need a break from, this is something that that you can support a community, and in my case, a community that I'm not a part of. So I feel like it's really fulfilling. Mm-hmm. Something I also wanted to touch on, especially speaking to this group of individuals, is some of our benefits at Liberty for veterans specifically. So we have a lot of really great benefits, especially we have a large percentage of reservists, especially on the Valor leadership. So it's really something that's being promoted to expand on. So does anyone want to speak on this? I feel like everyone's getting sick of my voice.
I will jump on. So the Reservist Pay and Benefits is a fairly new one that I believe Liberty Mutual came out with, but essentially offering paid time off and benefits while you're out doing your reserve training, which is huge. I think there's only a few companies out there that were doing it in years past, and now Liberty offers it too. So it's definitely a good perk for the folks that are still serving to take advantage of.
Yeah, and
I haven't done
did
much
not work
about the American Corporate Partners Program. Sorry, did I cut you off, Chip?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I didn't work for Liberty at the time that I was in the reserves, but the company I worked for had the same program, and it was extremely, extremely helpful at a time early in my career, and other things going on, to be able to take the time off, without feeling any repercussions of it. Because I think there are companies out there like that. And then to get paid, Fred built the company and then get paid by, the Marine Corps at the same time was, add a little extra pocket money, which, was a great benefit.
And something highlighted in the American Corporate Partners Program piece is something that we also do at Valor. So we have a career committee, and one of their initiatives is making a mentoring program. So, sharing your advice and your career path, your transition from military to this corporate job, that's something that is really important. And we've had a few successes so far. It's recent, it's pretty recent, but it's something I definitely wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the program.
It's Dan Arkins from the Home Base program, and I just wanted to chime in about my experience with American Corporate Partners. And first of all, really excited that you guys are members. I've mentored 5 transitioning veterans through ACP when I was at MetLife, and still doing a couple here while I'm at Mass General. But if you guys aren't aware of it, I would dig into that a lot more. It's a great opportunity to give something back, and it is such a critical tool for transitioning service members to really go into the belly of the beast. So many of the ACP mentors are not veterans, but they are subject matter experts in their field. So, the diversity you guys bring to the table in terms of, being on the surety side, being on the investment side, being on the legal side, you guys, could bring so much insight into, what life in a large corporation is. So I can't say enough good things about ACP. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I've heard great things about the program, and I thought I've heard through Valor Chatter that we've hired some folks through the program, but I have not gone through the mentor-mentee process with them, but I'll put that on the list.
Yeah, I mean, it is, it's a 12-month commitment when you do it. And, you and your mentee kind of set the ground rules for what you want to focus on, what you want to, how often you want to meet, what the outcome is for this. And so, it's not very rigid, but ACP gives great support. Their staff does a really good job of trying to match mentors and mentees, and then encourages that, forward motion on the mentorship relationship.
That's awesome. Yeah, I could have used that back in 2012 to get my head straight.
Yeah, and I've had mentees who were transitioning enlisted Marines right up to a Navy 06 who had commanded 2 nuclear submarines. So it's you never know who you're going to get as a mentee, but it's they are so appreciative of the insights and that support. So.
Yeah, Mike, you were mentioning the employees, the people that we hired, and that was through our Hiring for Our Heroes Valor initiative. When we had, I think, 3 successful, but that's pretty much where we started last year or 2. So that's another, mentorship program that we've been working on. So here, I just wanted to throw this up so you could kind of see our org structure for Valor specifically. And you can see right here that we have people that are actively deployed right now. And this is where Mike and I sit right here. So we represent the Boston chapter, but you can see that there are chapters across the nation. So if you are, Boston local, you could become a member of the Boston chapter, and we have events like these and others. We do care package assemblies, we do mental health initiatives, and every chapter, it's really up to that chapter to decide what they want to have on their docket for the year. With the COVID world, it's been a little tough, mostly web and virtual based, but when we're able to have in person, you can have the golf tournaments, Toys for Tots, things like that. But depending on where you're located, there should be a chapter in the general vicinity of your office. But we also have different committees that support the Valor. So like I was mentioning, the Hiring for Our Heroes would be in our career committee. But I definitely wanted to get to the meat and potatoes of the presentation today. So that was kind of an overview of, the company, our culture, before we move on to how to, market yourself or brand yourself, if you want to use the terms from the We presentation. I wanted to stop here, see if anyone has any questions, see if Mike, Chip, or Jack has anything they want to add about their experience at Liberty.
I'll start with just backing up a little bit. I got out in 2012, so not too far, not too long ago. And I think I sort of thought the transition would be a little bit smoother and easier. Maybe a little bit of delusions of grandeur in my mindset, but I transitioned out of the Marine Corps. I went back to Northeastern for my MBA, but I sort of didn't know, that center triangle, telling your story. I didn't really have that fine-tuned yet. And I didn't realize how impactful, being able to tell your story, being able to, when you do get the opportunity to talk to a hiring manager, or a director, or managing director, or whatnot, being able to relay sort of like what you want to do in your career path, and how you want to grow, and what excites you. So I think starting for me, that sort of held me back. And then the other thing too was I don't know what it was. I guess I had a lot of friends that were like police and fire, and not so many good contacts in corporate America. And so going back to it, I wish I had somebody like an ally or like a veteran in corporate America to sort of just, give me little golden nuggets and nudges of how to best prepare myself. And so that's essentially what we want to just provide today, to let folks know that, these Liberty Mutual folks on the phone today, and going back to that org chart, like they're all there to help, ask, give feedback, consult, catch up, give informal pathways into different career routes, and give lessons learned. But just wanted to sort of start there and hone in on that middle peg of telling your story.
Maybe I'll elaborate on that a little bit too. So I think about, my obviously situation a little bit different, and I certainly didn't have to struggle with some of the things that, veterans coming out of, especially combat situations today had to. But, I was a little bit lost when I was, coming out of high school, wasn't sure what I wanted to do, joined the reserves, primarily for that reason. And, kind of got a part-time job that ultimately turned into a career. And, where it aligns in that story, like I think about today when I talk to people or mentor people in general, is, everything that I've done in my career has been based on a building block, on something prior in my career. And early on, that was my, limited but military service, right? So I was able to, take some of the general skills I learned in the reserves around discipline and, the ability to adapt and things like that. And just the fact that I, did it, I think, got me in the door. And then it's kind of been a growth opportunity back and forth, throughout that. So for me, I think anyone coming into the workforce, and especially anybody going into the workforce based on, coming out of the military, really does have a great, broad set of skills that you wouldn't necessarily align with insurance or, law or IT or any of those things. And it's really, to me, trying to connect the dots of something that I've, a skill that I've developed and been able to experience, and how that might align to something that I've never done before. And, some of that, I think there's just so many skills, and I tend to focus on adaptability. If you think about IT nowadays, and certainly IT within Liberty, we've moved to what's called, an agile model for people that are familiar with that. But instead of, building, these big monolithic systems and having these 2-year plans, we tend to chunk it out into, smaller deliverables, and we have smaller squads that deliver that, right? And, a lot of people are used to, working in smaller squads, and, everything doesn't go always according to plan. So it's the ability to, adapt, maybe, see risks down the future. I think to some degree, taking risks. So those are all skills, right, that people in the military have learned one way or the other that are very, very transferable into the corporate world. Those are some skills that I developed, in the military and outside. So I would definitely focus on, as you sort of develop and tell your story, how you leverage those skills and capabilities that you've learned. And you may not even know how they align with something, but as you see jobs that are interesting to you, look for a mentor or somebody that might be able to help you connect those dots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I look at the slide up here that Chrissy put together, and you have be confident in the skills you have, and then common skills employers need. And we can take each one of those bullet points and marry them together. Attention to detail, resiliency fits right into the critical thinking and problem solving. Humility, you have accountability and proactiveness, being able to lead people that are smarter than you. It's all things that we developed and learned in the military. We learned how to collaborate and how to adapt and overcome, right? We were together with all walks of life. Everybody you could imagine who had a different personality had to work together, and we were able to overcome that. And that's really what employers today are looking for. Can you be a team player? Can you adapt? And can you drive on? Can you move forward when it gets tough? And each one of us has that skill set coming out of the military. It's just kind of, sometimes it's hard to articulate that and be confident in that. So I would say, the two biggest things I learned going through the process was don't settle. Chrissy talked about this early on. Make sure that the company or maybe as Mike said, the company is a match for you as you are a match for the company. And really look at that job description. And as you're looking through that job description, think about your skills. And when you're writing your resume, when you're writing your cover letter, be specific on how your skills meet what they put in that job description. And again, don't settle. Mike can tell you, and sorry to call you out, if you rush and jump into things because you're getting antsy, you're going to find out the hard way, which some people need to do, but just be picky, be selfish, and be confident in yourself. Liberty was a great organization to do that in. And not only was the transition into the company great, afterwards, just the ERGs, there's so much more into it that they offer. I think one of Liberty's top priorities is talent acquisition and retention. And so they're going to spend a lot of money on you to keep you happy and keep you there. There's tuition reimbursement programs. There's the incentives, we just saw on the previous slide of you're really getting paid twice, right? If you get deployed. And there's just so much within the organization that they try to offer to keep you there and to build you up with our mentor-mentee programs and just the training opportunities that are available. So I think having a support system behind my back was really instrumental in moving forward with a smooth transition.
Jack, thanks for calling me out, because I'm definitely from the camp that I like to do things the hard way and like knuckle drag. When I transitioned out, I sort of took the opportunity, just like you said, I jumped into an opportunity that I felt like I needed to hit the ground running and get experience. I was an artillery officer. How the heck does that translate into corporate America? So I sort of got the mentality and the feeling that when people were looking at my resume, they were like, "Oh, this is great. We'd love to hire you, but there's just not something compatible with us right now." So I took the hard road, and I did learn the hard way, and it took a couple companies to sort of figure it out. But to your point, I think you hammer that point home. And then also the culture standpoint is huge. I feel like when I first got out, everybody was sort of selling their culture, and I was like, is this just like marketing, sales talk? Everybody's saying, their culture is this, that, and the other. And it took two companies to figure it out that culture is definitely important. When I came to Liberty, I started in January. Super friendly, great people to work with. And one of the things that sort of hit me up front was I came from a super traditional conservative private equity company, almost something like you'd read out a Michael Lewis book. And when I came to Liberty Mutual, like rank and file were all sitting together with the leaders. I think one person had an office in Liberty Mutual Investments, which was the CIO, and mainly probably just for a little bit of privacy so she could collect her thoughts at the end of the day after all the calls she goes through. But that sort of stood out to me. And then like the COVID, how Liberty handled the COVID situation, like no company sort of knew what was happening. And Liberty's first theme and message they put out right from the get-go was like, stop what you're doing, take care of your kids, take care of your families. Like that is the most important thing right now. If you're struggling with keeping up with what you're working on, talk to your manager. We'll figure out, we'll take on the COVID situation together as we transition through this. And they just kept hammering home that point. And I was like, I don't believe this. There's a catch to this. My last company or the other company would never ever say that. They'd say keep driving and drive harder. Work until 9 because now you're home. And Liberty was just like the total opposite, and it was just so relieving. And I can only imagine, like, I don't have kids, but I can only imagine, like, for folks that have large families and are in distress or have loved ones that were sick with COVID, like that must be so relieving. So that's my culture pitch right there. One thing, Chip, Jack, I did want to bring up to you guys is I feel like I've been here a year and a half, but I feel like you guys probably have good experience and insight on, like, I feel like I've seen a lot of people within Liberty every couple of years, like jump from a different organization to another organization to learn it. And it just seems like that's sort of like the way of life at Liberty. There's a lot of internal movement. I don't know if you guys have experience with that, or if you've hired folks that have done that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly my story actually started when I started Liberty. I was in investments, so and I was there for about 2 years, and then jumped up into an organization up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is closer to where I live. And even I think over the last 5 years, my roles changed twice there, so it's similar, but and it's a good example of what I spoke about earlier, whereas you kind of build up experience in one thing, and then you leverage that to do something slightly different. And certainly that's been the case at Liberty, where I've had opportunities to kind of move around. And, sometimes it's a matter of kind of going where you're needed, and sometimes it's a matter of seeking the opportunities. And, there's a little bit of both of that happens. And it's, that's another kind of tie back to the military thing too, right? You kind of do, what's, what you need to do. And there's great opportunity in that.
And bring it back around to what Chip was saying earlier on how we're an IT company that also sells insurance. In surety, we had a goal to be the top analytic leader and top IT leader in the industry. We built a software program that houses all our information, all our data collection, and it's a very, very robust program, which they built from the ground up. But when I got hired back in 2015, they were kind of finishing phase 1 of the Agile platform. And we switched from waterfall to Agile. If you're not familiar with that, it's just a much more fluid way of getting a product out. You get a beta version out, a minimal viable product, which they changed the name of that again to something else. I don't remember, and then the field tests it and tells you what they really need and what they want. So it's continuously adapting and growing. But the end result when we got to that phase was we had a lot of IT employees that were on this build that didn't have a home and didn't really have a purpose. Surety itself wasn't large enough to house them. And so what Liberty did is they made sure every single one of the employees had some opportunity within the company to continue or move out. And so it really is that type of inclusivity within here where once they get the talent, they don't want to lose it. And so they're going to give you that opportunity. There's a whole different level of support for when you do take a different job. Now, this goes back to before. I think now we all can be remote and do every job everywhere. But often we had to move, as Chip did. And Liberty offers a slew of support for your move, for your family. There's certain programs, and this isn't every program, but we do have overseas capabilities in offices. And if you get tagged with an overseas deployment, they're going to take care of your family. They're going to put your kids in a private school while you're there. They're going to take care of your house back home if you couldn't sell it. And so there's a lot that they're going to do to make sure you do have that opportunity to keep producing for the company. The more they invest in you, the more that you're going to invest in them. So it really is a good place for that.
And the last point I'll make on that, from my perspective, I'm in corporate legal, like I said, and our team was able to leverage a lot of the new technology that we have available to us now. The sanctions team originated after 9/11. Before then, we didn't have a sanctions screening program because it wasn't really necessary. But now it's federal law based under the Office of Foreign Asset Control. And so from that point, we created a sanctions program, and it kind of stayed stagnant for a really long time. And now with all the new technology and the new way of thinking, and we've changed a lot of things. We've shifted to a new vendor. And because of all of this efficiency, we were able to grab a lot more capacity as a team. And now we're not only doing the sanction screening for the entire US operation, but we've also expanded to kind of make us a centralized screening for the entire company. So traditionally, all of our local operations would do their own sort of screening, which probably meant hiring a third party, which is expensive for the company. But when you have lesser developed operations, their screening may not be up to the standards of their US parent company. So having the ability to, now we do the sanction screening for Ireland, Portugal, Spain, we're working on Hong Kong, and it's really crazy how I've started 4.5 years ago just doing basically US screening, and now I have calls every couple nights with Hong Kong. And my role has stayed pretty much the same, but the capacity has changed. And there is, because I am in compliance, I have a kind of a very niche role, but there are horizontal growth developments in different areas of the business. So investments, for example, has its own compliance team. Each of our global operations has its own compliance team. So if you wanted to learn about different area, surety has its own compliance team as well. So if you wanted to learn a different area, there's that development opportunity as well. I know we're almost at time, so.
Don't mess with compliance.
Yeah, we're the police of the organization, so to speak.
Are we at a point where we could open it up for
Yep.
a couple of quick questions before we wrap?
Of course.
If anyone has any questions.
Andy, no question, but a comment. Once again, Dan Arkins from Home Base, and Andy is very nice. There's a couple of Boston College guys on this call, so he allows anyone from the Beanpot contingent to show up at his CAVS stuff. So we appreciate that, Andy. You guys did a great job. Your CEO, David Long, is a big supporter of Mass General, and the stuff that he talks about, you guys really did a great job of reflecting that back today. And as someone who has led an ERG, I understand that it is a second full-time job a lot of the time. So the fact that you guys are so passionate and committed to it is outstanding. The one 30-second pitch I want to make is, Home Base loves giving back, and we have a great relationship with a lot of corporate veterans, ERGs, and affinity groups. And I just want to make the offer to you folks that if you ever need a speaker, I know trying to fill 12 monthly meetings is tough. And, we would love to make that offer to provide a clinician, a veterans outreach coordinator, someone from leadership to talk to your group in the future. The other thing is, we are seeing a lot of demand from ERGs about, how do we shake off the last 12 months and get people back together again? And the Run to Home Base is our signature event every year. We went virtual last year. And honestly, for an event that is typically very Boston centric, we ended up having participation from 40 different states last year. So this might be an opportunity if you guys wanted to put a corporate team together to join us this year. It's September 25th. And we're seeing a lot of interest from ERG members outside of Boston to join it this year. So if you're interested, I can share my contact information and send you guys over some information on how to set up a corporate team. But thank you for everything you do. And everything I heard today was just exactly what us veterans need when we're delving, going through that transition process. You guys, knocked the cover off the ball.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I definitely would love to get a corporate team. It's, it's a very cool event. I mean, a lot of spirit, a lot of positivity at the Run to Home Base. And yeah, definitely appreciate an email with how to stand up a corporate team, and maybe we can build that into our yearly routine. Are you guys doing it virtual this year or on site?
So that all depends on the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the CDC, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and MGH. So right now we're planning on a fully virtual event, but fingers crossed we're going to have some in-person component.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, Governor Baker kind of starting to loosen up the reins a little now too. So we are working on a very solid plan B to have some form of in-person event this year too. So.
You guys usually have Governor Baker there on site.
Yeah, so maybe we can convince them to join us again. So.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so I just
Hey,
just shoot me an email and I can definitely send you guys some information on how to throw a corporate team together.
Cool. No, appreciate that.
Hi, Frank McCarthy here. Just wanted to jump in and say thank you. Sorry I had my camera off for most of that. One of the downsides of working from home is sometimes you can't escape the home distractions. So I thought I would save you all me getting up periodically. But yeah, no real questions. I saw Andy's post on LinkedIn, saw a fantastic opportunity to learn about a great company through a veteran lens, and thought I would take advantage of it, and was not disappointed. So thank you for that.
Yeah, feel free to connect with us, and yeah, if you get any more in detailed questions about some of the pathways into the company and some of the anything that interested you, we're happy to chat further. So thanks for joining us. You got a great view back there.
Thank you. It's Vermont.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Well, hey, to the four of you from Liberty Mutual, you are excellent ambassadors for your organization. And I think, those comments from Frank and Dan agree that it was a great presentation, and I look forward to sharing this beyond today. So to Dan, Frank, and anybody watching this subsequently, on social media, if you want to get in touch with any of these people, please reach out to me through CAVS, and we'll put you in touch. And we look forward to speaking again soon.
And
Thanks
Andy,
for hosting
all
us.
of the co-ops are from Northeastern, okay? So, we feel very connected to you.
Go Husky.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy, for setting this up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care, everybody.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Thank you.